My girlfriend broke up with me after 8 years, but she thought I would still help her financially. I cut her off and watched karma destroy her life. Hey, Reddit. I'm a man named Shawn and I'm 32 years old. My partner of 8 years blew up our whole relationship earlier this year. 8 years have passed. I was going to marry this woman. Monica, 31, a woman, didn't even have the decency to start a fight or give me a reason to be angry. Nope. One Thursday night, she arrived home from her sister's house and plopped down on the couch. 3 years ago, we bought something jointly, and then she hit me with, "I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a while." That was it. She said it like you would tell someone you're going to switch to oat milk. Like she had already moved on months ago. I sat there like a fool, drink halfway to my mouth, trying to figure out what had just happened. I asked her if I had done something wrong, if there was another guy, if she wanted to go to counseling, or anything else. She shook her head and answered, "No, I hadn't done anything wrong. She just needed to find herself and had outgrown the relationship." This is the most blindsided I've ever felt. We weren't flawless, but we were good. That's what I thought. I really liked this woman. I had built my whole adult life on her. I had been giving her money for 6 years straight after she quit her marketing career because she didn't feel like it was fulfilling her spirit. And I was okay with that because I loved her and really thought we were making something together. It seems that I was the only one who thought that. Brendan, my best friend, told me about a year ago that Monica was getting very into Instagram and posting these mysterious phrases about knowing your worth and not settling. At a cookout, he grabbed me aside and said, "Bro, I'm just saying keep your eyes open." I told him he was being paranoid and didn't listen. I wish I had paid attention. I was sitting across from this woman I'd been with for years, and she was acting like she was doing me a favor by breaking up with me. She seemed peaceful, even relieved, as if she'd been dragging this decision about for months and was glad to finally let it go. I asked her again if this was really what she wanted and if there was anything I could do. She nodded and said, "Yeah, this is what I want. I need space to grow." I was paying for everything in her life, and she needed space to grow. That's when I knew there was nothing else to say. I wasn't going to beg someone to stay if they didn't want to. That's not how I do things. I instructed her right away to pack a suitcase and go stay with her sister Christine. I wanted some time to think, but I couldn't do it with her there behaving like we had just agreed to go to a new restaurant. She didn't like that at all. She lost her cool and demanded why she had to be the one to go. She said that was her home as well. I told her again that she was the one who was ending things, not me. After that, I asked for the key to her residence. That definitely got her going. She started talking about how I was being bossy and mean, but after a lot of back and forth, she finally threw the key on the table. It was strange to see her pack. 8 years together, and she packed her bags in 20 minutes. "I hope you can be mature about this," she remarked to me before she went. I just stared at her. After that, she left without saying anything further. I was in the living room with Brendan on FaceTime that night. He didn't say, "I told you so," but I could tell by the look on his face. He asked, "What are you going to do?" I looked around at all of her things that were lying around. I told myself, I'm going to take my life back. Brendan held his drink up to the TV. "It's about time, brother." That night, I didn't get much sleep. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to find out what went wrong. I had given her 8 years of my life, money, and the freedom to find herself without having to worry about rent or expenses. And somehow, it still wasn't enough. When I woke up the next morning, the house was vacant. I knew I had to start doing things. But first, I needed a cup of coffee. Then I needed to make a plan. My phone rang about midday. Monica. I almost didn't answer, but she might have changed her mind. Perhaps she wanted to have a real conversation as adults do. I picked up. "Hey," she said, as if it were nothing. I didn't change my voice. "Hey there," she said. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing." Check in like she hadn't just blown up my whole life less than a day ago. "You wanted to check in?" I said it again slowly. "Yes. I realize this is hard for you, but I think we can still be friends in the end." This woman had just broken up with her boyfriend of 8 years and was already calculating how our friendship would go. I had to ask, "Are you really sure about this?" About breaking up. Yes, she said right away. This is what I need right now. That's when I decided to make some improvements that would be useful. Okay, I said. Then I need to take care of some logistics. What do you mean? She responded, looking less casual all of a sudden. I explained it to her. I would take her off my car insurance. Yes, I owned the truck, but the car she drove every day was in my name. This meant that I had to cancel the phone plan that was in my name and close the joint checking account where my paychecks went. I wasn't trying to get back at you. It was just common sense. Why should I keep paying for everything if we weren't together anymore? What? Are you really saying that? Her voice rose up about 3 octaves. Yes, I'm serious. Why should I keep buying your products now that we're not together anymore? She said, because you're not a child. I knew this would be hard for you, God. You're acting so small. I said, it's not petty. And I kept my voice level. It's the truth. You can't expect me to keep taking care of you financially when you've decided you don't want to be with me. She went off, started yelling about how I was trying to punish her for breaking up with me, how I was being vindictive and cruel, how she'd sacrificed so much for our relationship, and this was how I was treating her. I reminded her that her main sacrifice was quitting her job 6 years ago to find herself and then spending my money ever since. That didn't go over well. She called me a jerk and hung up. Over the next few days, I actually followed through. The first stop was the insurance company, removed her from my policy. Then I went to the phone store and canceled her line. Then I drove to the bank and closed the joint account. I'd already moved direct deposit to my personal account, and the bank allowed either owner to close a joint account. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of my life. My phone blew up with texts from her. Paragraphs about how heartless I was, how I was making her life impossible. One message said, "You're literally leaving me with nothing. What am I expected to do to stay alive?" I didn't answer. I found out through my friend Brendan that she was staying with her sister Kristen and going crazy. Kristen was completely on Monica's side, telling her I was being abusive by cutting her off financially. Kristen said I was a narcissist for not continuing to support Monica after the breakup. What nerve these women had. Monica had started applying for jobs, but nobody was calling her back after 6 years out of the workforce. Her resume was basically a crime scene. A week after the breakup, she called again from Christine's phone. I almost didn't answer, but I decided to get it over with. "I need to talk to you about the car," she said. "No, hello? Straight to business. What about it? Please let me utilize it. Just until I can get back on my feet and save up for my own." I chuckled. I really did. "You want to borrow my car? You have your truck," she remarked. That made sense. "You don't need both. I need to take an Uber to job interviews." "Are you serious right now? Do you have any idea how much that costs?" I claimed it wasn't my problem. "You wanted to break up. You wanted to be free. Well, being independent means you have to find your own way to get around." She screamed, "You're such a jerk. I can't believe I spent 8 years with someone so cold. You didn't waste anything. For 6 of those years, you didn't have to pay. The journey is done now." She hung up on me again. I had cut off all of our financial ties by the end of that week. I owned the automobile. The phone call was cut off. The account at the bank was closed. That weekend, Brendan came over. We sat outside on my back porch. He asked, "How are you?" I thought about it. "I feel free," he said with a nod. "Good. That's how you should feel. Now let's celebrate that." About 10 days after the breakup, Monica contacted to say she needed to get the rest of her things. I wasn't thrilled about seeing her again, but I wanted her belongings out of my house, so I agreed. Told her to come by on Saturday afternoon. She showed up at 2 with Kristen and Toe for moral support. Kristen gave me this disgusted look the second I opened the door, like I was something stuck to her shoe. "Shawn," she said coldly. I just nodded at her and stepped aside to let them in. I kept the door open and stayed in the living room so there wouldn't be any "he locked me out" drama. Monica walked past me without a word and headed straight to the bedroom. I heard drawers opening and closing. Kristen stayed in the living room, arms crossed, staring at me like she was my prison guard. "You know you're handling this really poorly," she said after a minute. Am I? Yeah. Monica's really struggling right now, and you're just making it worse. She ended things, Kristen. Not me. That doesn't mean you get to be cruel about it. I just stared at her. The mental gymnastics these two were doing could win gold medals. I'm not being cruel. I'm just not funding her lifestyle anymore. You're being a jerk, Kristen said. Then she walked toward the bedroom to help Monica pack. I stayed in the living room scrolling on my phone, waiting for this to be over. After about half an hour, Monica came out pulling a suitcase and carrying my laptop under her arm. My laptop? Whoa, what are you doing with that? I asked, standing up. I'm taking it, she said matter-of-factly. I use it all the time for job applications. That's mine. I bought it. You have your work laptop? She countered. You don't need this one. Doesn't matter if I need it or not. It's mine. Put it back. Kristen stepped between us. Oh my God, Shawn. Just let her take the laptop. You're being ridiculous. I'm being ridiculous. I looked at Kristen, then back at Monica. You're literally trying to steal my stuff and I'm the ridiculous one. It's not stealing, Monica said, her voice getting louder. We were together for 8 years. This stuff is basically shared property. No, it's not. I paid for it with my money. That makes it mine. That's when I noticed the suitcase looked way too full. I walked over and unzipped it before either of them could stop me. Sure enough, it was packed with stuff that wasn't hers. My wireless headphones, the nice set of kitchen knives I'd bought last year, my Nintendo Switch and games, a designer watch my parents had given me for my 30th birthday, even some of my clothes. I started pulling things out one by one. Want to explain this? Monica's face turned red. Those are things I gave you. You gave me my own watch that my parents bought me. That's impressive. I'm talking about the other stuff. The headphones I bought on Amazon. The knives I got at Williams-Sonoma. My own gaming system. I held up a hoodie. My college hoodie from a school you didn't even go to? Kristen jumped in. She uses those things all the time. You're seriously going to fight over every little item? Yeah, Kristen, I am, because they're not hers to take. Monica started crying. Right on cue. The waterworks started and she went into this whole speech about how heartless I was being. How after 8 years together, I was nickel and dying her over a few items. How she couldn't believe I'd changed so much. I stood there holding my watch and my headphones, feeling absolutely nothing. You can take your stuff, but everything else stays here. You're unbelievable, Kristen replied. She's right. You have changed. The old Shawn would never act like this. The old Shawn was an idiot. I said, and that version's retired. Monica looked at Kristen with this dramatic, wounded expression. Then back at me. I hope you're happy with yourself, she said through tears. I'm getting there, I replied. They spent another 20 minutes repacking the suitcase with only her actual belongings. The whole time, Kristen kept making snide comments under her breath about how petty I was being. When they finally left, Kristen turned back at the door. You know what? You deserve to be alone, she said. Then they were gone. I stood there for a minute, then started laughing. Brendan had been right. I should have done this years ago. That night, Monica sent me a novel of a text message. 5 paragraphs about how I'd shown my true colors, how I was vindictive, how she'd given me the best years of her life, and this was how I repaid her. I read the whole thing, then replied with, K, nothing else. Brendan thought it was hilarious when I showed him. Over the next few days, I boxed up the remaining stuff she'd left behind. Some random toiletries, a few books, a pair of shoes. I put it all in a box and left it in the garage. If she wanted it, she could coordinate with Brendan to pick it up when I wasn't home. I was done dealing with her face to face. Through the grapevine, I heard she'd been complaining to everyone who would listen about how I'd abused her by cutting her off, how I was making her life miserable. Kristen was apparently backing up every word, telling people I'd been financially controlling during our relationship and was now punishing her for leaving. The narrative they were spinning was impressive. They turned me into some kind of villain for the crime of not wanting to keep paying for my ex-girlfriend's life after she dumped me. But I didn't care. Let them tell whatever story they wanted. The people who actually knew me knew the truth, and that was enough. 2 weeks after the suitcase incident, my phone rang late on a Tuesday night. Unknown number. I stared at the screen for a minute, then picked up. Yeah, it was Monica. I need help, she said. Her voice was shaky, almost panicked. I stayed quiet for a few seconds. With what? I've applied to like 50 places and nothing and nobody's calling me back. She paused. I don't know what to do. That's rough, I said, keeping my tone neutral. But I don't know what you want me to do about it. You could help me, she said, her voice getting sharper. I gave up my career for you, for us. The least you could do is help me get back on my feet. There it was. You didn't give up your career for me, I said slowly. You quit your job 6 years ago because you said you couldn't be creative in a corporate environment. Those were your exact words. I quit because you said you'd support me. I did support you for 6 years. While you figured out what you wanted to do with your life, so now you get to support yourself. She started crying, going on about how hard everything was, how her sister was pressuring her to find work and contribute to bills, how she was sleeping on Christine's couch and had no money for anything. I have nothing right now, she sobbed. I'm sorry you're struggling, but this isn't my responsibility anymore. So that's it. Her voice went from crying to angry in a heartbeat. 8 years together and you're just going to watch me suffer. You made this choice, Monica. Not me. You don't get to come back crying for help now. She started yelling then, calling me names, saying I'd never really loved her. That she couldn't believe she'd wasted 8 years with someone so heartless and selfish. I let her vent for about 30 seconds, then cut in. You done? Screw you, Shawn, she hissed. After that, she hung up. For the next week, I got a lot of texts on my phone. They began with a lot of emotion, saying they were sorry and full of regret. But her tone changed completely when I didn't answer. The messages turned sour. I was heartless, cruel, a narcissist, and an abuser. She said that I was wrecking her life on purpose and that karma would get me back. That's funny. One night when we were eating, I showed them to Brendan. He read them and shook his head. Dude, this is crazy behavior. Yes. Are you going to answer? No. Good guy. EDL. I started to hear more about what was going on with Monica through our mutual acquaintance Mike. It seemed that Kristen had handed her an ultimatum. You have 3 weeks to get a job and start paying your bills and rent, or you have to leave. Monica was going crazy, looking for jobs everywhere she could think of. But her resume was virtually radioactive after 6 years of not working. Mike said she had a full breakdown at a friend's birthday celebration. She started crying at the table and saying that she had ruined her life and that everything was unfair. It seemed like her buddy had tried to soothe her, but Monica simply kept talking about how I was ruining her future by cutting her off. It was crazy how the victim mindset was. About 3 weeks after our final phone contact, I was home watching a game one night when someone knocked on my door. I didn't expect anyone, so I looked out the window first. It was her. She looked bad, with tangled hair, puffy eyes, and sweatpants and an old t-shirt that looked like she'd been sleeping in them. I opened the door, but I didn't let her in. What do you want? I need to talk to you, she continued, her voice shaking. Please. I stood there for a moment, then moved to the side. She came in and sat down on the edge of the couch, her hands shaking. I can't do this anymore, she said. I've tried everything, but I can't find work. No one will hire me. Kristen is going to kick me out. I don't have anywhere to go. I waited, knowing what would happen next. Shawn, I messed up. A big mistake. I thought I wanted something else, but I was incorrect. I miss what we had. I miss you. I still care about you. Her words just hung there. I didn't feel anything, though. I simply felt exhausted. I told you that you don't love me. You love not having to worry about expenses or employment. That's not the same thing. She said that wasn't true, and tears started to flow. I genuinely do miss you. Monica, we miss you. You said you didn't love me anymore. You said you were too old for the relationship. You broke up, but now you want back in since you realized how amazing you had it. She said, I can change. I will find work. I'll do what you desire. I got up. I don't want anything from you. I'm finished. You made your choice, so you have to deal with it now. She started to beg, claiming she would do anything to make things right, that she had made a terrible mistake and needed another opportunity. But I didn't want to. I had given her 8 years. That was enough. I walked to the door and opened it. You need to leave, I said. She was sitting there with tears flowing down her face. She got up and walked to the door when she saw that I wasn't going to change my decision. She stopped when she got to me. I hope you find someone who is good enough for you, she whispered softly. I've already started, I said. After that, she left. When the door closed, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I had really closed that chapter for the first time since the breakup. I knew it was over after that last talk with Monica. She'd come crawling back, wanting to get back into the easy life I'd given her. But I wasn't that person anymore. A few days later, Brendan texted me to inform that Kristen had finally kicked Monica out. She had missed the deadline to obtain a job and had been living off of other people's money for more than a month. It looks like Kristen gave her some money and instructed her to work it out. Mike told me that Monica had gotten a part-time job at a coffee shop. Minimum wage and tips. She lived in a studio apartment in a district of town that wasn't very nice. Mike added that friends of both of them had seen her looking bad. But here's the deal. I didn't feel bad at all. I started dating someone new about the same time. I met Harper through Brendan's girlfriend, Rebecca, at a casual get-together. I wasn't sure at first if I was ready to date. The whole thing with Monica made me quite jaded about relationships, but Harper was different from the start. She is 29 years old, works as a civil engineer, and owns her own condo. She also drives a car that she bought herself. She's brilliant, humorous, and has her life together. Being with Harper was like getting fresh air after being in a stifling atmosphere for years. She had dreams and objectives. She didn't want someone to pay for her quest of self-discovery. She was astonished when I told her about Monica and the whole breakup thing. You helped her for 6 years? She asked. Like really helped her? Yes. Everything. Harper shook her head. That's crazy. I can't picture not having a job. I go crazy. I stated that because you're a grown-up who can do things. She laughed. That's a fair point. Things with Harper proceeded along at a good speed. No problems. Two folks were just getting to know each other and seeing what happened. Brendan said yes right away. Dude, this one is a keeper. He was right. About 2 months after I started seeing Harper, I got a text from a number I didn't know. It was a long message that went on and on about feelings. I went to the bottom and noticed that Monica had signed it. She had a new phone number. It seems like the message was the same old tune. She was having a hard time and barely making rent. She really messed up by leaving me. Please think about allowing her move back in for a short while until she gets back on her feet. She even said she was delighted I was with Harper now, as if she wasn't trying to get back together in the same message. I let Harper see it. Came through as we were eating dinner at my house. She asked, "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. I'm not even responding." A few days later, while I was grilling in the backyard with Harper, someone knocked on my front door. We weren't expecting anyone to come. I strolled around the house and glanced out the window. Of course, Monica. I opened the door, but I didn't move aside to let her enter. "What are you doing here?" She said. "I texted you. You didn't answer." That was on purpose. She peered past me and saw Harper in the living room. In about 2 seconds, her face went from desperate to angry. She responded coldly, "That's her. What do you want, Monica?" She turned to look at me, and her eyes filled with tears. "Right on time. I need to talk to you alone. There's nothing to talk about that's private. You can either say what you need to say or leave." She looked at Harper again and then at me. "Okay, I need help. I can hardly afford to live. I don't make enough money at work. I owe rent. I don't know what else to do. Get a second job. Work things out. You can't be serious right now. I mean it." She got mad instead of crying. "You really don't care, do you? You're simply going to sit back and watch me suffer after everything we've been through together. I'm not your boyfriend anymore, Monica. I don't have to take care of your life. You made that extremely plain when you broke up." Again, she looked at Harper. "You've already found someone else to take my place." That was quick. No, I moved on. Harper came up next to me. "I don't know you, Monica, but it sounds like you're attempting to make Shawn's troubles your own. That's not fair at all." Monica's eyes got big. Are you really serious right now? You have only known him for a short time. You don't know anything about how we are together, Harper remarked quietly. I know he was there for you for 6 years and then you left him. And now you're back because things didn't go the way you wanted. Monica looked between us, and her face said it all. You are both bad individuals. You two are perfect for each other. I said, thanks for that. Then I shut the door. He just shut it in her face while she was yelling. Harper and I stood there for a second as Monica yelled something through the door. Then footsteps and then nothing. That was a lot of fun. Welcome to my life, Harper remarked with a smile. I'm not that easy to scare off. That night, Brendan called and laughed. Monica must have texted Kristen right after she left my house. Kristen then sent a text to one of our common friends complaining about me and Harper. The tale they were saying was that Monica had broken up with Harper and me because we had been having an affair the whole time. The new story was great, but I didn't care. My life was better than it had been in a long time. I had a woman who really helped the connection. Monica could tell whatever story she wanted. I was done being a part of her story. About 3 months after that second fight at my place, I had almost forgotten about Monica. It was nice to live with Harper. We went to Colorado together, met each other's families, and spoke of living together in the future. Harper had become good friends with Brendan and his girlfriend Rebecca. My life had changed completely. But one night, Brendan called with news. You won't believe what happened to Monica, bro. I said that I didn't care what happened to Monica, but I was interested. You can trust me. You need to hear this. It looks like Monica started seeing someone else approximately a month after she came to my house for the second time. Adrian, a guy who was all over her Instagram. Designer clothes, a collection of expensive watches, and images in front of fancy cars are all part of it. She must have thought she had won the lottery. But Adrian wasn't who he said she was. Not at all. At first, everything seemed wonderful from the outside. He was giving her a lot of things, taking her to fancy restaurants, and flying her to Miami and Vegas for the weekend. She kept posting about it. In the comments, Kristen was getting her excited. But this is where it gets good. Adrian had no money at all. The fashionable outfits, whether they were real or fake, and the cars, which were either hired or borrowed from friends for picture shoots. The travels were paid for with maxed-out credit cards and personal loans. The bogus watch collection is fake as heck. The man was running a full-blown scam. Brendan's girlfriend Rebecca had kept in touch with Kristen, who liked to brag about how great Monica was doing now. But then the tale began to change. Monica had been asked for money by Adrian. At first, it was only little bits like 100 here and 50 there. He'd tell a story about how his money was tied up in investments or waiting for a large contract to conclude. Then it got worse. He persuaded her they could use a credit card together to create their future, and she agreed to open one in her name. She totally fell for it. Established a card with a $10,000 limit and gave it to them. It was full in 3 weeks. He told her not to worry since he would pay it off as soon as his contract was done. There was no deal, hence the deal never concluded. Adrian was a professional mooch who played games with women who were needy for a provider. Monica had put a target on her back by regularly talking about how she wanted a high-value man to match her enthusiasm. But it gets even worse. Adrian had friends, but they were shady. They started coming over all the time, staying at Monica's apartment, taking money, using her car, eating her food, and treating her place like a halfway house. She tried to live like them, thinking it would pay off in the end. But the debt continued becoming bigger. Then one day, Adrian ghosted her. He just disappeared, his phone was unplugged, his social media accounts were erased, and he was gone. She was left with a maxed-out credit card, his buddies still camping at her flat, and a lot of unhappy people hunting for him. It turns out that Adrian's friends weren't only using her for money. They were the kind of folks that would lend you money with a lot of interest. Very strong interest. And after Adrian disappeared, they came to get their money. One night, Mike contacted me and told me what happened next. It seems that 2 men went to Monica's flat looking for Adrian. They assured her that it didn't matter that he had departed, and she didn't know where he was. She had been living with him and getting money from him. They thought she was just as accountable. They said she had 2 weeks to get $5,000 or else something bad would happen. She freaked out and contacted Kristen, who ordered her to call the cops. But Monica was afraid. You didn't want to call the cops on these men since it would only make things worse. She tried to reach Adrian from numerous phone numbers, went to his last known address and asked his buddies where he was. No one knew anything or they weren't saying. She was the only one with the bag. I felt a lot of different things when I heard all of this. I felt horrible because no one should have to deal with being tricked or threatened. But another part of me couldn't help but believe that this is what happens when you spend your whole life waiting for someone else to fix your problems. She wanted an easy life where someone else would pay for her lifestyle without her having to work for it. And she found exactly that in Adrian, except that this time she met someone who saw her as a tool to be used, just like she saw me. The karma was almost poetic, but it wasn't over yet. What occurred next was much better. Things got worse for Adrian before they got better. Much worse. Mike said that Monica had to sell most of her things to acquire the money Adrian owed to those individuals. The luxury bags Adrian purchased her were fake and cost only about $50 each. The jewelry isn't real. Everything he gave her was useless. She sold everything that was worth something, like her TV, laptop, and furnishings. She even had to sell certain things that her parents had given her. In total, they made roughly $3,000. She was able to talk Adrienne's pals into accepting $3,000 up front and payments on the rest. They agreed, but they made it obvious what would happen if she didn't pay. She had to get a second job. Started working 2 jobs, one at a coffee shop and the other at night as a waiter. Her Instagram switched from being full of nightclubs to being utterly silent. Kristen had stopped leaving comments of support. It seems that even she was becoming sick of the continual problems. But the worst part was that the credit card company sued her for the whole debt that Adrian had left her with. She tried to say it was fraud, but her name was on the account and she had given him permission to use it. It was all her fault in the eyes of the law. She had to make a payment plan that would take her years to pay off. A few months went by, which was long enough for the Adrian fallout to complete falling apart and become background noise. In the meantime, I was doing great. After dating for a few months, Harper and I decided to move in together. She put her condo up for sale and sold it. A few weeks later, we closed on a place together and moved in. We were 50-50 partners and had a joint account where we both put in the same amount of money. Shared bills and duties. It felt like having a real grown-up relationship for the first time. Brendan and Rebecca were going to get married. They had asked Harper and me to be part of the wedding. My job was going great. Life was really fantastic. About 4 months after the Adrian incident blew up, I was at a sports bar with Brendan and other pals watching a game when someone touched me on the shoulder. Monica was there when I turned around. "Can we talk?" she said to Shawn. Brendan stood up right away. "No, we're okay." I told Brendan it was okay. Then I told Monica, "You've got 2 minutes." She looked at my companions and then back at me. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. You were right about it, everything." I said, "Okay," without offering her anything. "I messed up a lot. I just wanted to let you know that I know that now." "Is that all there is?" She seemed angry. "That's all you need to say." "Monica, what do you want me to say?" "I just wanted to let you know that I knew what I lost." I said, "I don't care what you realize. You lost something nice because you didn't appreciate it. That's your fault. I don't want to be the one you cry on." She responded, "I'm not asking for that," her voice getting louder. "I just want to say I'm sorry." "Nice. Thank you for your apology. Anything else?" She stood there for a moment, as if she wanted to say more. Then her eyes moved past me, and I could see that her face had changed. I looked around and saw Harper come in with Rebecca. They had gone shopping and were coming to eat with us. Harper walked up to me and kissed me. "Hey, babe." After that, she turned to Monica. "Hey, Monica." Monica's whole attitude changed. "Harper. Awesome." I told Harper that we were almost done. Then back to Monica. "Was there anything else?" "Yes," Monica responded, her voice getting sharper again. "How long did you two know each other before you started dating?" Harper laughed and said, "Just curious. We met months after you two broke up. But I'm sure you've already made up a story that makes you feel better." I'm sure Shawn told you a lot of stuff about me. Harper mentioned that he doesn't talk about you much at all. Monica's cheeks became red as she heard this. You're not really important to our life. You know what? You two are a great match. You two are both chilly jerks. Harper added that we like the term having boundaries. But yeah, go with jerks if that helps. Brendan was doing his best not to chuckle. Rebecca was smiling. Monica stared at all of us. She stated this was a mistake. I should have known better than to think you would do anything. Maybe. I said yes. You should definitely quit expecting things from people in general, too. That looks like your main problem. Forget about you, Shawn. I hope you know that you ruined me. I said you ruined yourself, not me. She stood there for a few more seconds, her eyes watering, evidently hoping I would react in some way, but I was done. I told Monica to take care of herself. She turned around and left the pub. It looked like Kristen was waiting outside. I could see them talking through the glass. Kristen was waving her arms about, and Monica was crying. After that, they both got into Kristen's car and drove away. I sat back down at the table. Brendan held up his drink. Hey, you got away with it. We ate, laughed, and celebrated Brendan's engagement for the remainder of the night. I remembered sitting in an empty house a year ago and wondering what I had done wrong. And now look at me. I have a nice house, a great partner, and I'm really happy, all because I put myself first. So I'm fine. And Monica made her own decisions. She would have to deal with them. YouTube just added this new feature that everyone is talking about. If you can't get enough of this story, hit the hype button. It informs YouTube this video should get a lot of views.